Welcome back to AI Meets API, the podcast where we explore the future of artificial intelligence and enterprise integration. Today's guest is Sherath Gauda, Senior Solutions Engineer at Salesforce. Sherath brings expertise across MuleSoft, Salesforce, APIs, cloud platforms, and AI-driven data engineering, helping enterprises modernize their integration strategies and unlock real business value. Hosting today's conversation is Ajay Konda, CGO of ProwessSoft. Ajay, over to you.
Hey, Sherath, it's fantastic to have you on the show. To start with our podcast, you have worked across some of the most impactful technologies in enterprise IT. Looking back, what's one milestone in your career that stands out?
Sure, Ajay. First and foremost, thank you for having me over here in this podcast. I'm feeling very honored to be part of this particular series. There are a couple of milestones like during my journey working in IT projects and in different companies. Most of my experience before being part of the pre-sales or solution engineering team was in the financial services sector. One of the milestones which strikes for me is I did work as a platform engineering and in the DevOps engineering team in Fidelity Investments and HSBC Bank. So migration of critical data was very essential. Security and compliance is taken for granted in this financial services company. And these applications and data had to be migrated to different cloud services, mainly the AWS and the Google Cloud. It certainly was highly complex, but seeing it more improve scalability and accelerate innovation for the business, it was incredibly rewarding for the amount of time I spent in migrating all this data and applications to different cloud services.
Financial services, that's interesting because yes. I can understand the kind of complexities involved there. But as per your role, currently you are more focused on the retail and manufacturing side over the last few years?
Yes. So before I became an on-field sales engineer, so in MuleSoft and Salesforce, we have a concept of a specialist SE, where if you need to technically dive into features, perform some proof of concepts and build in highly customized demos, we are part of that particular ladder. And from this year onwards, I'm an on-field sales engineer. So when I was part of the specialist SER, I did cater to both retail, manufacturing, consumer goods, customers and potential prospects on the field. Right now, I'm fully focused on the manufacturing sector and helping them achieve their composable architecture or API-led connectivity through MuleSoft.
So we are hearing a lot about AI and API convergence right now, and MuleSoft is also coming up with a lot of thought leadership and features on that one. When you look at what's happening on the AI side, how do you see that impact on your prospects and customers in the retail and manufacturing side, and what are you hearing about from the customers?
Sure, that's actually a very thought-provoking question. Since AI as a concept or a topic or an enablement or a digital transformation is constantly being stapled to all the IT projects we are currently doing. So how it's directly affecting my day-to-day job is whenever we have a conversation, a topic of how we can enable the agentic AI enterprise in an organization is very much important. What they really want to showcase is if an agent wants access to data, that has to be in real time. It has to be of very less latency to access that data, because the main initiative of having AI projects is democratizing the access to data, as well as to make sure that if we are enabling an agent to work in a particular IT landscape to talk with different applications, it has to work seamlessly. It should not be like it committed a huge error where we lost a lot of money, a lot of value, a lot of time in implementing them. So what really the customers are really asking for is how I can set up a particular layer, kind of like a broker layer, where I not only make sure that these issues are addressed, but at the same time, if I'm able to apply policies on these APIs to be consumed by the AI agents, how very well it's effective and how we can make sure that if the systems already have APIs, how MuleSoft as a solution not only cover this agentic broker layer or API policies, but at the same time how it can create a knowledge source, something like MCP server, to bubble up all those APIs and consume that knowledge and create a knowledge bus. These are the conversations which we are having on a day-to-day basis whenever we talk with an enterprise customer in manufacturing space.
Okay, sounds good. Are there any specific use cases that is exciting you on the field right now when you are talking to customers, or which is resonating very well? Especially, I know it's the everybody can able to build agents now, but the governance and like the context and those factors, whatever you mentioned, is becoming more and more critical. What are some of the use cases you are excited about?
Fantastic. So Ajay, I'm currently working with, let's say, a power management customer. So they know this MCP and HOA capabilities. Like, I do not believe that no organization know this concept so well before adopting them. And more, the way they're addressing this particular problem or the particular way of integrating AI into their projects is like literally fantastic. They're broken down into what are the main capabilities of MCP. Everybody talks about tools and resources. Tools are very much similar to APIs. Resources are basically similar to the knowledge which has been hosted. But nobody else talks about like prompting or sampling or the extra capabilities of MCP. More and more, whenever this customer is actually engaging and wanting to use this particular initiative to be integrated to their IT projects, they make sure that they talk with their security and compliance teams to make sure that what type of capability is allowed for me to set up an MCP server so the different agents or different AI models can interact with the data present in the MCP server. And this pretty much excited me to think about, like, as you really rightfully brought it out, governance approach to make sure that whatever API is being consumed is heavily policy. And at the same time, new concepts like agent card or HOA protocol, like how it's effectively governed and monitored, is very much more crucial, because how we monitor a human interacting with different systems or different applications is very much more important. At the same time, we need to think like, okay, if an AI agent is able to talk with an ERP system like SAP or a CRM system like Salesforce, it is also acting like a human, and we need to monitor and make sure that we log all those informations. So in this way, like, this pretty much excites me of how we were thinking of a middleware solution only in talking terms of completely eliminating the point-to-point and go towards an API-led or composable architecture. Now we are essentially doing the same thing with MCP or HOA capabilities and how we can accelerate this AI adoption into our current existing IT projects. So this definitely excites me.
Okay. How receptive are so customers hear about this agentic capabilities from every tech vendor right now, right? How are you making a difference while discussing with the customers, right? Definitely this governance aspect of it. I was watching one of the webinar from MuleSoft yesterday. They said that every platform can develop the APIs by itself. Everybody provides APIs, but the thing is they come to the MuleSoft because we provide the holistic solution.
Right.
Is that the direction for when it comes to agents also?
Of course. So MuleSoft has always been a system agnostic platform. At the end of the day, as you rightfully pointed out, like, if every system out there, if every SaaS application out there is creating their own APIs and agents, now what new value we are bringing, we are in the platform as a service solution. That's actually very thought provoking. But at the same time, what I really want to highlight is how much of appetite or how much of hands-on work you want to make sure that these particular AI projects have been thought, and how it has been planned to be added to the IT projects. It's very much more important, because before without being architecting this particular initiative, it's very difficult to have this conversation, and we do not want to end up in a space where I'm like a parrot parroting the same words of a different company. So we want to make sure that how we are system or tech agnostic, we are the same way in AI models. Whatever models you have, bring your own models. We're going to make sure that we're going to work it out with them. And at the same time, as you rightfully said, there are APIs coming in from different applications. Now you have APIs, right? We will help you create an MCP server consuming all those APIs. Now you might be wondering like, okay, now I really do not want to recreate whatever I've created. Okay, it's fine. We're going to make sure that we're going to onboard all those APIs. You host the infrastructure, you host the API, but we're going to make sure that we manage those APIs, put proper policies, governance, checkboxes, or how this API has to interact. We're going to manage it for you, and you would have the complete control of how it has to be managed. So in these different ways, we make sure that we are being that particular sticky solution to work with. And at the same time, we are not forcing anybody to use a particular system, a particular agentic AI bots, or in a particular way of how it has been successful in a previous company, it has to be followed in yours as well. So everybody has their own use cases, everybody has their own set of tools. We just want to be that particular sticky solution so that it works effectively, efficiently in both the companies of company A and as well as in company B.
Okay, sounds good. You mentioned something called agent cart. Can you explain more on that one?
Agent card it's basically like, let's say if I need to go and vote, I need to have an ID card to be presented. Like basically now if I'm flying domestically in US, I need to show my real ID. Without it, I would not be allowed to board. So in a similar way, like an MCP server will have different AI models talking with each other. Now having this particular agent card, what it effectively means is this particular AI model or an AI agent is created to interact with the backend system or with this particular knowledge source with certain access limitations. Now using this particular agent card, we can exchange and make sure that even though if the MCP server is hosting a lot more knowledge, the agent interacting with that MCP server via its AI models will only be limited to what access it has, and will make sure that it's not going to contact or touch any other system or take in any other knowledge from its particular MCP server. So it is shareable knowledge, but at the same time, AI model should have access to that particular shareable resource.
MCP or any of these protocols out there, those are all invoked by agents which are more like a probabilistic situation, right? Okay, this is the thing I'm thinking it should invoke this MCP for this use case. But how do we make, but customers are a bit more worried about that probabilistic nature. How can we control and reject some of them saying that this is not a right for this use case when an agent is trying to invoke?
Perfect. This boils down to the training of the AI model or using of what's available. So one of the capability I did talk about MCP was sampling. So in general, like this particular model context protocol was, as we all know, was coined in by Anthropic, and it's getting adopted much faster. So this might not be the best practice like in 5 years from now, but it's certainly the best practice right now. So when we do talk about all the capabilities in sampling, MCP actually works like in a server client architecture. Now with sampling, if I'm able to make sure that if I can talk back to the system, enable that system and make sure that in this particular probabilistic way of what I expected the answer to come out of that system, if it's being made through continuous sampling and continuous calls made back into the server, so that whenever the client makes a callback, we are getting the same answer, I feel like we have achieved it. So this too passes through the same middleware solution and will go through different integration patterns. Policy, security and compliance is always engineered in a middleware solution. So I do believe like in this particular certain way, we can mitigate that issue.
Oh, okay. That's interesting to know. I was not aware of this.
It's constantly evolving, Ajay. So every time, like whenever we talk about these concepts, like we might sound like the smartest person in the room at that time. But the second time, whenever we talk about the concepts or do a revision of it, like it would have changed so much that you're still on a learning mode. So that's what I truly believe in, and that's what I truly believe what is happening in the real world as well.
Yeah, definitely. Over the last few years, it is pretty much
Right.
on steroids.
Right.
Coming back to this API use cases, right? So you have done a lot of engagements and seen a lot of use cases in the API implementation. And one other aspect of the AI is it's accelerating the lot of integration use cases which we used to do before. So what are some of the things you are seeing, or how as an API professionals can adopt to accelerate their use cases?
Oh, lovely, Ajay. So I did stumble upon a certain AI platform called Curie. Like whenever I'm answering the question, probably I'm talking in terms of MuleSoft. But let's say if we are talking in terms of any middleware solution, these agents are actually making sure that if you need to have a really good migrational path to move your assets, to move your build from one platform to another, agents have been really good with it. And just by enabling the user to prompt in of what I need to do, what I need to get, and the agents behind the scene, if it's working seamlessly, I have definitely seen that it has helped in the folks who are in the API world to adopt all these AI technologies into their skill set. So it's always been a trial and error. I would never say like everything is foolproof, but to get enhanced on how they can adopt AI into their work, I do feel like trying it out, testing it out, and at the same time, what we call as wipe coding, if you can effectively do that and set up that simulation, I do feel like it's going to help them in understanding where the AI concepts are coming in from and how people in the API world can completely adapt to it and have a seamless and a smooth transfer.
Okay, definitely. Any new features within the MuleSoft code builder or others which is accelerating this path at the same time?
Oh yeah. So I really love the word agnostic because with MuleSoft MCP server capability, we completely became IDE agnostic. What I mean by it is our developer IDE always used to be Anypoint Studio and it still is. With Anypoint Code Builder, what we did is if you're able to download some of the extensions, let's say in Visual Studio Code, you can enable the Anypoint Code Builder in Visual Studio Code. Now with the MuleSoft MCP server capability, let's say we have this AI editor Cursor or Windsurf. Just by using the tooling and integration settings in Cursor, pasting the value of the MuleSoft MCP server, we enable the Anypoint Code Builder in Cursor AI editor as well. So we are definitely meeting the developers at their own playground rather than inviting them to Anypoint Studio and trying to work it out. And for people who are already used to Eclipse IDEs, which Anypoint Studio is based out of, we have made sure that just by adding in Curie AI plugin, we are giving an AI touch to a legacy IDE. So we want to make sure that we are holistically approaching and making sure that our community is happy with using our developer IDE solutions. And at the same time, we are revamping and making sure that we are also meeting the developers who are not used to the IDEs like Anypoint Studio, which the previous generation was used to.
Okay. Let me segue into some topic on application rationalization, right? So this is one of the biggest things whenever we talk to the CIOs is that why are we sitting on so many applications? Previously it's about why applications are not talking to each other. Now it is more about why are we having so many applications?
Right.
So how is integration playing a role in the application rationalization, and how can you helping to fast track this one?
Oh yeah, so that's actually a really good question. But you're absolutely right. When I did work in different financial services sector, we had so many different tools doing that activity. We never thought of a concept called a platform having all these tools as features or capabilities. Instead of it, we'll go with a tool-based approach. And what it really led to is we want to make sure that instead of using different tools for API spec development, different tools for testing it, different tools for setting it up, why not give a platform to be used? And integration, how it solves this is we always have legacy applications. Like for example, in financial services company, we'll always have AS400 system or mainframe systems. And at the same time, we'll also have modern applications which are hosted in cloud. So integrations make sure that it connects both the legacy and the modern systems. So business can evaluate like what really adds value. And at the same time, MuleSoft has heavily owned in on the reusable pattern. Like whatever API assets you create should be reused for subsequent projects, and it should be shareable so that different business units of an organization can also use those assets. So APIs and reusable patterns accelerate this consolidation, migration and retiring of the redundant system. And this is all part of the IT journey, right? Now, if I talk to a business stakeholder, they'll be like, what's in it for me? We are definitely speeding up the return on investment. Instead of honing in different tools, now we are thinking of a platform and how we can consolidate on a unified platform. And at the same time, once we democratize this access and hone in on the reusability factor, we are speeding up the project execution, thereby reducing the cost in different ways, like how many FTEs are involved, how much of time is involved for a project execution. So in wide variety of way, we are reducing the cost while we are speeding up the projects. So this is how an integration solution can effectively help in handling the application rationalization.
Sounds good. How is the overall this AI adoption on the organizations? How are you helping to solve those adoption challenges, or what are you seeing from the customers?
Very well. Most of the customers I do talk to, which I rightfully outstated like a couple of minutes ago, is everybody is trying on AI projects. Everybody has got their hands on with free access to so many number of AI tools out there. Everybody making sure that they're skilling up, and at the same time they want to bring this new concept onto the table and to be stapled onto different IT projects. So how I'm helping them is mapping of complex data has been always been difficult. Now, using this particular data weave language we have in MuleSoft, how we can make sure that is we just rely on the metadata of the systems, we collate that information and map the data. And then we make sure that with the new offering, it's still not released, the agentic fabric, we can effectively monitor how the agents in an organization are working and how we can log all those activities onto our platform. And then with AI, these tasks are now more manageable, right? Like all the digging through of the logs, which have been slow and painful. What we want to do is auto suggesting of the maps, generation of the tests, and surface routes, which what I feel is if there's any error, like can I really pinpoint on it? If it can be done, like which platform or which product needs to be used. So that's where MuleSoft also comes into picture, where I can quickly go into a log tracing or an observability factor, see the end-to-end transaction and pinpoint on an error. So this is where we are making sure that we are helping the customers who are already trying out like how AI needs to be adopted into their current IT projects.
Okay. What are some of the trends, AI and API trends you are excited right now? We already talked about MCP and A2A and agent card, all these things. Other than this, anything else you are more excited about?
APIs were generally used to, let's say, connect systems. Now I want APIs to also give AI-driven insights. So that's what I'm really fascinated about. Like if an AI-assisted API development, so that's where you rightfully pointed out on Anypoint Code Builder. Now if I'm able to create an integration flow just by prompting it, say that, hey, you know what, I need to fetch a number of contacts or number of accounts created in Salesforce and convert it to a CSV format file to be stored in an SFTP server. I can just prompt it and make sure that I use the right verbiage and verbose and create those integration flow. So these are the new things where AI assisted API development, making sure it's event driven, predictive integrations, which anticipates the business needs before they happen. That's what I'm truly excited about.
Okay, sounds good. So one last thing, anything I missed, or do you like to share it across to the community about AI and APIs before we wrap up?
Of course, and thank you, Ajay, for giving me this platform. So what I'm really want to talk about is this particular concept, hyper automation came into picture when we acquired Service Trace, which became a MuleSoft RPA, and people were questioning like, hey, you were in the middleware solution, why did you go ahead and buy an RPA solution? And then we have the IDP solution, which is basically an OCR tech running to read through the documents. I truly believe the future is hyper automation, real-time connectivity, and AI-driven orchestration. And MuleSoft is the platform to make sure that all these three main pillars are fully supported, and not just on the cloud, right? Because through my vast experience, what I really thought is an hybrid architecture, and some of the systems are on-prem. So we want to make sure that we set up all these three pillars of hyper automation, real-time connectivity, and AI-driven orchestration across cloud, on-prem, and make sure that if they're going for a hybrid architecture, we should be able to facilitate that as well. And by designing all these scalable API-led architectures, leveraging intelligent automation, which I did talk about RPA and IDP, and adopting event-driven, which is like async API, we want to make sure that these workflows which are creating, we are making sure they have accelerating the business value. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that whatever we create is scalable, and at the same time for a business team they're having their ROI investment on these particular projects. So this is what I really am looking forward to, and I'm sure like this is really happening right now, but in future this particular principles or the pillars of future hyper automation, real-time connectivity and AI driven orchestration will happen, and it will quickly accelerate in a couple of years following this year. So I truly believe.
Thank you so much, Sherath, for your time and sharing the inputs.
Thank you for having me, Ajay. So this gave me a platform to talk about like what's really in my mind, where I'm actually not just selling, but actually showing the proof of value of what our platform brings to the table.
Definitely.
That's all for this episode of AI Meets API. Thanks for tuning in and being part of the conversation. Be sure to follow so you don't miss future episodes. Until next time, stay curious and stay connected.